Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that.
Hey, U.
Good afternoon, Matthew and everyone. I'm Kei Woo, a Korean-American immigrant of the past 30 years. And once upon a time, I had the privilege of interning at Capitol Hill with the Oregon State House Representative. It's very familiar with your office. I'm delighted to connect with you today as a proud resident of Johns Creek in the 7th District as well. And it's an honor to be a part of this gathering as we collectively address and seek support for H.R.1369, the Peace on Korean Peninsula Act. Very nice meeting all of you.
Thank you, Kay. Munjo?
Hi, Matthew. Good to see you again. Thanks for your time. I'm the Southeast coordinator of the Korea Peace Now grassroots network. And I'm very concerned about the Korea Peninsula situation these days. The tension has been escalating every day. It's very bad. So the H.R. 1369 is ever more important. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So because we have a new member join today, do you want to introduce yourself again, please?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Matthew Golden. I'm the Congresswoman's legislative assistant, and I cover her responsibilities on one of her committee assignments, education and the workforce, and then I also cover a variety of other off-committee issues as well, including a lot of the human rights, humanitarian aid portion of the Congresswoman's international affairs portfolio. And I'm also from East Cobb. I've been with the Congresswoman for about 6 years now. So I really appreciate you all being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. So our first question, what would be feedback from the first meeting? Because, you had plenty of time to discuss about the H.R. 1369 with your team members. Is there any feedback from the conversation at all?
Yeah. So just to start, I just wanted to say that I saw the Divided Families National Registry Act. I think that's definitely something that we're going to be becoming a co-sponsor of. So I just wanted to start off with that. I think that's something that we're deeply concerned about. With the other bill, I don't think we're going to be able to co-sponsor it this time. I think we want to wait to see if it the progression before the committee. With the Congresswoman not being on foreign affairs, we would never want to do anything to complicate the situation. And I know you guys would never want to do. I know that's not the intent of this bill. I know this is something that we would support if it were to hit the floor. But I just don't know if we can. I just don't think we're going to be able to co-sponsor it this time. And I know that's not the answer that you wanted. But we are deeply concerned about these issues. The Divided Families Registry Act, we will be co-sponsoring. There's a bill that's about to go out to the secretary. There's a letter that's about to go to the director of HHS about, using discretion for international adoptees that are facing deportation. I know that's another serious issue for folks in y'all's community. And so I never want it to seem like, we're not supportive of y'all. I just don't think that we can co-sponsor at this time. But if it were to ever hit the floor, we definitely would support it and everything like that. And so I think that's where we've landed on the bill at this time.
Thank you very much for your answer. And then your honesty as well.
Yeah.
Yes, up close and then, share this information up close. And then, so my question actually is just, I introduced that Divided Family Registry Act, but we have a concern about it. It just,
okay.
Introduced by Young, Kim, and Michelle Steele Park, and then they were actually the opposed to peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Sure.
Yeah. So gotcha. Your answer.
No, thank you for sharing that.
You are considering sponsoring it, but that is not a good move. We don't.
No, I appreciate it, and that's exactly part of the reason why I brought it up. And so now I don't. I think we're gonna stay off.
I would brought up to you that there's a concern about the peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Please.
Even Republican Party congressional members is concerned about the peace on the Korean Peninsula. Because those Divided Family Act was introduced constantly every session, 117 session, this session, Congresswoman Grace Mann already signed up and then introduced during the session 117, and she already passed it. And then Young Kim and Michelle Steele, I don't know what's their scheme and what's their concern or the thinking behind the scene introducing this Registry Act. But this is the move. This is the changes they made this session during the session. So just reconsidering co-sponsor it because we won't
be getting on now. I appreciate that. So
yeah, thank you.
No, definitely not. I'm sorry that I misinterpreted that.
Yeah, I just want to introduce there's this kind of bill introduced by Republican Party. So
yes.
Eastern Peninsula is not Democratic Party's agenda. So there's people especially Young Kim and Michelle Park Steele, and that they still considering about there's a concern they want to push for the divided family and humanitarian issue for the Korean Peninsula. That's the one I want to let you know about this registry.
No, I appreciate it, and that's exactly why we try to have these meetings. And so, definitely not going to be getting on at this time. And so I appreciate you helping me clarify that. And so what do you think about that letter about prosecutorial discretion for inter-country adoptees? Do you know anything about that?
Do you have anybody want to answer for this question at all? Adoptees Act? So at this point, we don't have any answer for that, and then I'm going to follow up with you, and then going to write to you about this, what we are thinking about the act.
Yeah, and I would love to know. And I'm glad that I caught you prior to all of this, and I would have definitely reached out about it prior to, but no, this is I think this just speaks to how complicated this issue is, right?
Yeah, because the Korean Peninsula, any issues regarding the Korean peace and the Korean Peninsula is very complicated, layers and layers, and then there's so many things going on right now. So, because we heard you that at this time, U.S. office is not thinking or considering co-sponsoring the H.R. 1369. So what you guys, your office is looking for? What situation you want to, want to work with to co-sponsor this 1369?
So I think, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think we kind of want to see how the committee on foreign affairs plays it out on both sides. It's not that we're opposed or anything like that, at all. I just don't think that we can, become a co-sponsor. And that doesn't mean that we're closing the door and supporting it at all. Sorry about that. But I think we just kind of want to continue to monitor this at this time. Specifically just about the committee, but I know how important this is to y'all, and the reason why we tried to, I was trying to find an alternative, the divided families issue, that is such a serious issue. Anything that, we always want to try to encourage folks to come to the table to try to establish these liaisons to, make sure these families get reunited, especially as, folks get older, as we get further and further away from the conflict. So I think that's kind of the impetus, the reason for us trying to find something. But yeah, I just think at this time, that bill specifically, we kind of want to defer to the committee and see how things progress.
Sure. Echo, do you have any idea that Korean War Divided Family Unification Act is introduced this session again? Because it was.
So it was introduced, and it passed committee unanimously a couple days ago.
Right.
So that's kind of the reason I kind of thought it was part of the reason I thought it was non-controversial. But I understand, given your viewpoint now, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. So the Divided Family Reunification Act is we supporting, but not the registry.
Not the registry. Okay.
Yes, there's a clarification because I think Grace Meng has introduced the Reunification Act for the last session and this session. So she's the one, because her husband is Korean and her children is like a half Korean, half Chinese, and they are very concerned about this peace on the Korean Peninsula. But registry, if we don't know the behind the scene, what's their schemes and what they're thinking about. So we are very cautious about the Registry Act.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate that, and I'll be sure to, keep off it for now. And I appreciate you sharing your opinions on it.
I want to add one thing.
Sure, please.
So it appears that there is a high level of interest in peace on the Korean Peninsula. Last week, 230 people attended a screening event honoring former President Kim Dae-jung. President Kim Dae-jung devoted much effort to peace on the Korean Peninsula, and his endeavors earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you know that? It happened in Duluth.
Sorry, go on.
The screening was in the Duluth SMG Theater last week. So
no, I didn't know about it, but I appreciate you sharing. And please go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So many constituents in your area, they are very interested in the Korean peace on the Korean Peninsula Act, okay? So please reconsider to co-sponsor this H.R. 1369. Thank you.
No,
Okay, thank you, Hee-kyung. And then Jin-Yang, you raise your hand.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. Along the same line with this Divided Families National Registry, thank you, Michelle, for bringing this up to Mr. Golden to reconsider co-sponsoring this act. I think your office should approach us first to ask us what the Korean American think about this act. I think, but thank you so much for your time and listening, your attention to our concern about that. We're wondering what is the political implication, what is behind of this. I just personally, I'm wondering if this registry should be used for the political agenda or for any other things. We don't want to do this. So and my question is this: you said, thank you so much for your feedback on our proposal, our request to sponsoring this H.R. 1369. What is your policy on the Korean Peninsula? I mean, as you're working for the international affairs, what's your office's policy? What's democratic, for example, what democratic is a more broader stance? What's your stance on the Korean Peninsula? It seems like your office is not sponsoring the H.R. 1369, which is a peace on the Korean Peninsula Resolution Act, whereas this registry seems like we don't understand why you're sponsoring this one, but that one is not. No, you know what I'm saying. So I want to.
No, I understand. So I wanted to.
Policy. What's the policy?
Yeah, I want to clarify that we're not going to be co-sponsoring. That was something that I thought you would be interested in, and upon learning that you are not, we are not going to. So I want to clarify that. And so to your point earlier about, us reaching out to y'all before making these decisions, that's exactly what this is, right? Like, I haven't spoken to, that wasn't like a big decision that was made. That was a bill that, passed unanimously out of committee that I felt spoke to, part of the issue of Korean families being separated, due to the conflict. And I'm sorry for misinterpreting that. And I appreciate, you clarifying that. To your second point, we are not opposed to the bill. I would like to make that clear. Are not, us, not becoming a co-sponsor, waiting for the committee, that is not, an indication that we are opposed to the bill at all. If this were to ever make it to the floor, this is something that we would support. It's something that, we know is deeply important to you. And just the co-sponsoring is, something that we try to reserve for certain things. And we don't think that this applies at that time. But, I know it must be incredibly frustrating. And, we're not opposed to the bill at all. It's the co-sponsorship is not an indication of full, it is definitely an indication of support, but I'm not saying that we're opposed to this at all. This is just something that we're not going to be co-sponsoring at this time. And, I understand that's not the answer you want to hear, and I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah, thank you for your clarification, Matthew. But I don't want to put pressure on your shoulders.
No, don't. No, that's exactly. This is my job. These are conversations that have repercussions far beyond. This is y'all's entire.
Yeah.
This is y'all's life. This is y'all's. Your culture, your history, and I never want to come off in a way that I'm being insensitive to that.
Thank you. And Munjo, you raised your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. I interpret what you said as so you support H.R. 1369.
So if at the appropriate time, if it were come to the floor, it's something that we would vote in favor of. It's just not something that we're going to be co-sponsoring at this time.
Right. If it's not this time, and then what would be the timeline or time frame you would support?
So, supporting the bill, depending on your interpretation, right? Like, if it were to come to the floor and we were to vote in favor, like, I would consider that to be supporting. Like, co-sponsoring is just not something that we're going to be doing this Congress. I'm always happy to continue this discussion. This was just but yeah, I part of the co-sponsoring system really frustrates me because I don't, I think people look a little too far into certain parts of it, and not to say that's not important, but there are bills that the Congresswoman votes for that we don't co-sponsor all the time. It's just it's something to show, another indication, another level of sureness. But this is something that we at this time want to continue to keep an eye on, and it is something that we would support on the floor. It's just not something that we're willing to co-sponsor at this time.
I see. We understand.
So legislature. Legislature is different from the ordinary people, right?
Sure.
Okay. Legislature supports a bill or not, right? If the legislature supports the bill, it does support. It doesn't, co-sponsor. That really means it doesn't, whoever the legislature doesn't support, right?
If somebody's not on?
Yeah, if not co-sponsoring, then that means not really supporting the bill.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. There are lots of bills that the Congresswoman votes in favor of, that has sent letters in support of, that she cares about, that she doesn't necessarily co-sponsor, and that's part of the reason why it's sort of frustrating. Because there's 8,000 bills, right? And there are lots that are good that we want to keep an eye on, that we are not opposed to, and I want to make that extremely clear. But it just, we're not a co-sponsor at this time.
Okay, thank you. And Echo, you raised your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to let Matthew know that, North Korea now has a different stance on South Korea. They are naming South Korea as their principal enemy. Until this recent remarks by Kim Jong-un and the 8th Workers' Party, it was North Korea always consider South Korea as their partners. And there are two different states right now, but it's a temporary until the two countries reunify. But now everything after 70 years has turned. So you can ask any Korean American who has a little bit of knowledge on the current politics. They would acknowledge that war threat is ever more now. This Cold War turning into hot war is ever more right now at this time. So just wanted you to acknowledge that we do have families in South Korea, many of us. I have my cousins, and recently there was a press conference done by the South Korean Civil Society near the border town. And the border town people have, especially in the last year, because of US and ROK joint military exercises and US ROK Japan joint military exercises, the border town people are ever more threatened that some accident can happen during these war drills and a war can break out. So they were expressing their fear to the civil society groups recently, and they had a press conference, and that in coming March, some of North Korean defectors can try to fly the balloons again, the propaganda balloons that they've done in the past. And in the past, North Korean soldiers have gunned down those balloons, propaganda balloons. And if any kind of accident again, if that happens, and if South Korea fires back at the North Korean, who knows what the situation can turn into. So I wanted you to know the sense of urgency on this issue, especially as Korean Americans, as we have our families in South Korea, that this issue is ever more dire to us right now. So I understand that at this time, Representative McBath cannot co-sponsor this bill, but please let her know that this situation is getting worse and we are ever more fearful about this war turning into another hot war, and that U.S. needs to end this Korean war with North Korea. That's the longest war the U.S. has been in.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And I'll continue to keep you updated. I'll speak with the appropriate people again. I understand how important this is to you, and I never want to seem like I'm being insensitive to this entire situation, because that's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to relay. And so I appreciate it, Echo, and thank you.
Thank you. Jinya, you want to talk about the travel ban among the Section 3 travel ban from the H.R.1369 bill?
Michelle, I think we have spoken enough about this H.R. 1369. I don't want to waste time to repeating again and again. Just asking Mr. Gordon again to reconsider H.R. 1369. So we ask you to reconsider because we are I'm the constituent in your district, and I want to see your policy, clear policy, foreign policy and policy on the Korean Peninsula and in the region of Northeast Asia. So I think the election is coming up, and we as a constituent, I just want to really want to know about your policy. So if you can share later, but not today. I don't want to ask you to share with us about on the policy, but in the future, maybe later time, in the other time, next time, I just don't want to hear about the policy. And from then, I just want to. I don't want to just repeat it again and again. And we can have a more better conversation with you, Mr. Gordon. Thank you.
All right,
I appreciate it.
You have your raised hand.
I just wanted to add one comment as well. Matt, you just said if you are in favor, but the timing isn't right. Just wanted to say, hasn't the past 70 years been sufficient? That's my just a question. It is a rather urgent call to action, not only just for the well-being of the Korean Peninsula, but for all the nations enduring the harsh realities of war today. So I just wanted to urge you to hear our voices. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Matthew, for your time. But this is not the end of the conversation because I keep you posted, and then if there's any progress and then anything, I'm gonna write you again. And then the conversation we had, because we had a Google Doc everything is written in the Google Doc. I'm going to share it with you after this conversation and this meeting. And then I want to have the clarification about the registry act, and then we don't want your support, okay? And
Sure.
then, yeah. So we're going to keep having a conversation on this and keep you posted about, the progress of the bill. And then I think that's it for the day. You heard from us and we hear from you. So I think this is we had enough conversation for the day, and then we can adjourn this meeting now. If you have anything else you want to add on?
No, I appreciate you all taking the time, and I would love to get your take on that, on the discretionary, inter-country adoption issue. I know that's obviously a different thing, but I look forward to continuing this conversation, and I appreciate the candor about all of this. I know this is deeply important to all of you.
Thank you very much. And then I'm going to write you with this notes tonight. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.